Hi there, and welcome to another video of MeasureSchool.com, where we teach you the data-driven way of digital marketing. My name is Julian, and on this channel we do marketing tech reviews, tutorials, and the occasional live session just like this one. So if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. Now, we had some technical issues, but they have really not been resolved. It took us a while to figure out that we just have to go on Google Hangouts here and start this live session this way. Unfortunately, all the other technical stuff needs to be figured out in the upcoming live session. So we're just looking into other people to join. Then we get started on this live session of Facebook Analytics this time. So let's get started and see what's new. We will talk about Facebook Analytics, the new Facebook Pixel, some changes that came in, and the new auto-tracking feature of this Facebook Pixel. So you might want to jump to the right place if you're interested in one of the other things. If you're watching this later on, then look into the description below where we have the timestamps, and you can click on it and then jump to that section as well. Now, let's get started. So Facebook has announced a few changes to their Facebook Pixel. I mean, it was long coming. Facebook is ramping up their ad tech and making strides forward so they can catch up with Google. Now, when we first started out with Facebook advertising, we had a Facebook Pixel for conversion pixel, a Facebook Pixel for retargeting or audience building. Now that has all been combined into one pixel, and then we can customize that pixel in order to send any kind of data into Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics of the Facebook ad platform. Now, there has been some confusion because the Facebook Pixel is not very well documented, I would say. So the developer docs are not super friendly. I think Google is doing a way better job in explaining everything, but they are an older company, obviously, and Facebook is just catching up on that end. Now, why is this important? Facebook advertising has become one of the dominant factors when it comes to digital marketing. So Facebook is, I think like 70% of all ad spend goes to the Google or the Facebook ad network. Now, there's other 30%, but these are very hard to reach for smaller advertisers. So if you want to do advertising and you're a bigger company, you probably have deals with content networks or other display advertising networks out there that are apart from Google and Facebook. But for smaller advertisers, and there's where only a little bit money is spent, but in a grand scheme, it's way more. Facebook and Google are still dominant, and that's why they have this kind of self-serving software running in the background. And if you want to be successful with this platform, you need to be able to use it correctly and install the tracking codes correctly. All right, so let's jump into some examples that I wanted to show you today and show you the changes that are happening within Google, within Facebook advertising. Now, I'm always confused with this whole Facebook thing and Google. So let's jump into a little demo here. I'm going to go over to my screen, and we have here our demo shop. As usual, if you wanted to install Facebook advertising, we would go to our Facebook interface and look at here we have our pixels. So if you go into your Facebook advertising account, you will probably see it somewhere under these tools. Right here under assets, you have your pixels, and these are really what drives the pixel, your retargeting list, but also your conversions. So in order to set up your pixel, there's something new, and this interface now asks you if you want to install this with a tag management system. Obviously, we want to do this with the tag management system because I'm a big fan of Google Tag Manager, and if you click on it, you actually get certain vendors here, not a lot of vendors, but there are certain instructions. So there is a little bit of an interface to get the user through this flow of installing the pixel. So if you go to Google Tag Manager here, we actually get two options, and this is also new. Normally, you would just have a manual installation of the pixel into your Google Tag Manager account. Nowadays, they have the quick install option. So if you click on that, you will be granted to connect your Google account, and you will give Facebook basically access to your account, and then you can choose your account name. And this is, for example, for this account, you need to, I have a lot of different containers here, but I think it's the weekly, let me see, here, the weekly video account. Then we go into the container option. And I have one prepared here, and this is the Facebook container option. And here it will show you what it will install into your Google Tag Manager account. So it will upload it directly into your Google Tag Manager account. We can also change this around and choose events here. If you wanted to fire a certain event, you could say this should be the search event. And we can choose some firing options, the trigger that we want to deploy on, and so on. Now, if we don't have that in our account, bad luck, you need to install it beforehand. And then Facebook will say, okay, we'll publish these changes right away. So if we put this right now into publish, what it will do, it will actually create a new version in our Google Tag Manager account and will publish these automatically. So if you go into our Facebook container here, we see under tags, new tags. One is the base pixel code, which we just installed, and the search pixel code. Don't pay attention to this Facebook pixel. This is something I installed earlier. But it has deployed them on our side without us entering Google Tag Manager. Now, is this a great option? In my opinion, this is pretty, well, let's go back to our camera, first of all. So in my opinion, I guess this change that a lot of people think it's a good thing because you don't have to enter Google Tag Manager again. You don't really need to know anything about Google Tag Manager. It will just deploy it magically. And probably the people on the Facebook ad team have thought this up and thought it would be a great idea. In my opinion, it's kind of novel to do these strides forward where you don't have to do anything anymore, but it diminishes the control that you have within your Google Tag Manager account about your tags. And I would also not recommend any of my clients to do this or give them access to it and say, hey, just click these two buttons and let's do this, because it diminishes the control that I have. So if I don't really know what's going on within Google Tag Manager, I don't know anything about Google Tag Manager, and I just deploy these codes, yes, that may work in very, very narrow circumstances where you just want to have the retargeting pixel deployed and you don't even know what Google Tag Manager is, but you have it set up somehow magically on your website. So maybe if there's a system, for example, a Shopify or something like Wix.com, where Google Tag Manager is pre-installed and you just need to connect it somehow and then upload it, then that would be great. But I would always recommend to actually go the route of manually installing this, because it gives you more granular control over how the tag actually functions, and you understand it later on and can troubleshoot when anything goes wrong. Now, this is like not really AI, but this is just a machine that installs your Google Tag Manager code without any naming convention, without any knowing what triggers actually are, why they need to be set up. So there is a lot of things that can go wrong, and I wouldn't recommend this option for anybody really, unless you really don't know anything about Google Tag Manager and somebody tells you to do this, then why not? But in most cases, I would say rather give it to the person that is responsible for this Google Tag Manager account, and then install this. Okay, so we have 39 people watching. We have David here, Louis, and Eric. Great. Oh, Eric gave us a super chat last time. So thank you, Eric, for that. I forgot to give you a shout out last time. All right, let's go on into the next example that I had prepared here. I'm just going to go and switch over to the screen again. Right, the next thing that I wanted to discuss is this new Facebook pixel. So what does actually get installed onto your Google Tag Manager account when you choose this? And here we go. So when you set up the pixel, you can also copy paste the code or use Google Tag Manager here. It gives you some nice steps. I would go with the manual installation as described, and it gives you some videos as well. Unfortunately, these are the old interface, so there's that. All right, but when you go through this installation, basically you get one pixel code. So this is basically just one pixel code that needs to be installed, and one is the base pixel code. So what is the thing that you need to install here? This is really the code that you want to copy and put into your Google Tag Manager account. I put this in right here, and this is the base pixel code that I would deploy on the website, possibly with all pages, the all pages trigger, but you can also take another approach here, because one thing that I want to point out is the use advanced matching feature. What is this all about? Google actually, Facebook actually gives you the ability to add this little line of code here. Let's copy that and put that in right here. What we see here is that this line of code was added. What does that do? Well, it will give this Facebook init function a parameter, so it can actually match it up with the user within Facebook. So if you enter an email address here, if that would be dynamically replaced by the email address, then Facebook could go into the system and say, oh, we have a user for that, so we can attach that pixel more closely to that user. And it's not based on cookies anymore, but on this actual user that is logged in to Facebook. So that is something you can extra add to Facebook and to this pixel. How would you actually do this? Now this gets really complicated, and I can't go through this in depth right now. But first of all, you would need to have a data layer set up. Anytime a user logs in, you would push that data point, this email address, to the data layer, and then you can pick it up via Google Tag Manager with the help of variables. Now you could build a data layer variable to pull a certain key, for example, the email key, and then you can input that variable into this code via these two curly brackets and then the name of your variable. And then it would be automatically replaced in that code. Now, the data needs to be available in the data layer, first of all. So you can't just type this in like I just did and expect it to work. You need to have a more sophisticated setup. And I would recommend, if you don't know how to do this, or if you're working in a bigger company where there are developers available, you need to define the data layer beforehand, and then the developers would implement it and then put it into place here. Now, email is not the only, or this EM parameter is not the only parameter that actually can be filled in here. So if you go back, we actually see there is a help section here for the structured data. So for example, here we have phone number, first name, and then it gets a bit complicated because here are more parameters that you can put in. So first name, last name, phone number, gender, and so on. And this is all advanced matching options. So if Facebook has this record in the database, they can more closely connect it to the user, and it would make your targeting options a bit better. I haven't seen any proof of that actually showing in any case in the interface that you would be able to target, for example, on phone number or gender or a date of birth. But Facebook will be able to use that data to more closely match it to their database. So this is one of the more advanced options that you have within the interface to install this use advanced matching option. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. Not yet. If you have any questions, please put them into the chat. Then we can go on, and after you have any kind of matching options that you wanted to have in your code, you can further customize it by using an event code. So what is event code actually? These are these Facebook track codes. So you have here track. Okay, you can't really see that. Let's go over and implement that here. Get rid of these script tags. What we see here is that there is already by default one track event in there, and that's the page view track event. So if you just install this code, by default, what will Facebook do? It will track all the page views that happen on your site if you have the all pages trigger attached to this. Now you can activate certain new events within Facebook by adding new events in here. So there are some standard events that Facebook gives you. So for example, the search event, the view content event, the add to cart event, initiate checkout, add payment info, and so on. So these are very custom snippets. If they fit to your business, you can go ahead and implement it into your code as well. Now, obviously, you only want this to happen once a user actually purchases a product. So what I would recommend is to leave that base tracking code untouched, just like this. And then you need to add a certain line to it. And this is from the Facebook Pixel guide from Yehoshua Koren. He had a great blog post about how to install the Facebook Pixel with Google Tag Manager. And there's this line of code which I would put under the Facebook base tracking code. So let's put that under. Okay, now it's copied it twice. Just get rid of this. So under our Facebook's tracking code, and this is the base tracking code, and then you are all set. Now you have this no script tag option right here. We can actually delete that because it will not be executed anyways, because if JavaScript is not enabled on the user's browser, Google Tag Manager will actually not work in that sense. So it will not deploy a custom HTML tag. We can get rid of that. This is as well if you want to. You can also leave it in if you want to. It will not do any harm. Okay, once you have this code, what does that do? It will actually tell Google Tag Manager, we are now ready. This code has been deployed correctly for the next tag. So we can give a signal to Google Tag Manager that this tag has been deployed correctly. We have all pages here. Let's save this. And what we can do now is for our custom actions. So for example, call this is a Facebook event. And this event is, for example, a purchase. We can now go ahead in the custom HTML tag and deploy our script tag without any base tracking code. We just want to make sure that our code only deploys once the other code is fired. So we will enable in the tag sequencing options that we want to fire a tag before this tag, and this tag needs to be the Facebook pixel. So this was the pixel we just looked at. So once this is deployed, we can go ahead and just fire our pixel. Now, as a trigger, you would need to define it when a purchase actually happens. That's something I won't cover right now. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that there are multiple track types within Facebook, and we can simply put in our data here for custom events that are sent to Facebook, and we can later use for our targeting as well. Now let's go ahead and again, you would need to obviously change these around as well into variables and put that data into the data layer. For example, a revenue data layer variable. So once this is in place, you'll be able to track custom events. Now there's another method. None of these actually are custom to your business. These are standard events that Facebook actually already deployed in order to make it easier for the customers. We also have the custom event option. And there's really what we already know from the data layer comes in. Here we have an option that is actually very custom. So you can put anything in here. So for example, play game. So we could have an action that says when a user plays a game on our website, then we want to deploy this this event. You could build with key value pairs your own events with your own parameters. So for example, for this game, what is the name of the game? And I don't know, what is the category of that game, okay? So, and then you would, again, with data layer variables, fill that out dynamically with the name of the game, for example, or dynamically with the category. So that would be automatically deployed through a data layer. You need to have the data layer set up, and then this would be filled in. And this is how you can send in very custom information to Facebook and make the targeting really tight. So for example, for your, depending on your business, if you have a game business, it would deploy this, and you can target on the actual category of games that the user has played. Although Facebook doesn't have a custom event in here, you can always do this with this custom event option within the Facebook interface. Okay, so far so good. Let's go on and talk a bit about auto tracking. So if you have Facebook installed, there's actually, do we have here the base tracking code? That don't really say anything about it here. Let's look into our little reads. Here's the documentation, and with the documentation, they actually announced that they will have a new functionality. Now I can't find it. Automatic. Doesn't work. Give me 1 second. Why don't they have it in here? I saw it yesterday, and now I can find it again. Okay. Anyways, they have announced that I think the 20th of May was the cutoff date. They will turn on something called automatic configuration. Here we go. Yes. On May 19th, they announced they switched that over. And what this will do will actually, the Facebook pixel by default will be able to send over button click data and page metadata by default. So you don't have to do anything. It will just send it over. And now if you want to turn this off, actually explicitly turn this off, you would need to install this kind of line of code, and then it will be turned off. Now, this has been a change that Facebook introduced actually almost a month ago. So if you have installed Facebook, the Facebook pixel over a month ago, then you might want to be looking out to update your code in order to install this kind of auto tracking on your site. Now, what will this do? Let me just demonstrate this really quickly. Discard changes. Yeah. So just go ahead and delete our auto put in place tags here. And just go with our Facebook pixel. So this is the new version here, version 2.0. And we are gonna go into the preview and debug mode. Okay. Okay, we have an unknown variable name. Okay, yes, we don't need this part. So you're right. We can also get rid of this part because we're just gonna do this for demonstration. Let's preview this. And okay, back. Let's do this in this sense. Just gonna copy this again. Put this in here. Let's preview this. All right. Let's go to our demo shop. Oops, we are not yet connected. Okay, here we go. And I also have the Facebook Pixel helper here installed on Chrome, and we see that a page view was sent over to our Facebook Pixel code. Now, once I click any of these buttons, so for example here, add to cart, we see that there's a second event that happened, although within Google Tag Manager, nothing really happened except of these events here. So this is not happening through Google Tag Manager. I haven't configured anything, but if you look into the Pixel helper, we now see that there's a new event called subscribe button click. And when we look into it, we have some parameters that have been sent over by default. Form features, there's nothing in there, button click, button text, add to cart, and button features, like the name and the ID and so on. Similar to what you would get with an auto event trigger. So if you install an auto event trigger, you would get this data into variables. Now, the unfortunate thing here is that this data just gets sent over, and you can't really control what gets sent over or not. This will be hopefully then available within your Google, within your Facebook Ads account, so you can target later on pretty thoroughly your user group and what they have done on your website. So you don't have to actually install any kind of custom events. Now, is this something that actually works? I can't actually tell. So I see these events and this event data actually being sent. I can also test this out on a contact form, I think. Let's see here. Okay, and we send this off. And we can see here, now it gets actually sent a lot of different information, and even my name, my, does it say here? No, it doesn't actually say the actual. So it sends over the form fields, but not really what is in the form fields. So I don't know how that actually then works, and if you can see that data later on within Facebook. Because the unfortunate thing here is that I wasn't able to see that data anywhere in my account. So we can see here event data that comes in, but we can't actually see this subscribe button click that we see in our Pixel helper. That data gets definitely sent, but whether it's available later in the interface, I don't know yet. And maybe that's something that will come out. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me if somebody can already try this out. Anyways, now this is a new feature, and this will come to, this is in effect actually already. So if you have the newer version of the Facebook Pixel installed, this will actually pick up all the events within your Google, within your Facebook account, and maybe later made available for your audience building or for your conversion tracking. Now, I actually, on measureschool.com, I actually had to try this out myself and found out that we had an older version of the Facebook pixel code installed. And so you need to make sure that this is actually the newer version, which was introduced, I think, it doesn't say it here, but I think in April 20th, it was introduced. So the Pixel, the newer installations already have that, the older installations don't. Okay, this is one of the new functionalities. Now we come to the big one, which is our Facebook analytics. Now, the data that Facebook actually gathers through the Pixel is not only good for building audiences, custom audiences, or doing conversion tracking. It's in essence really something that they could build their own analytics of. And that's what they actually did. So they built an analytics suite that is now available at, where can we see that? That should be under analytics.facebook.com. Let's see, right. So they have built their own analytics suite, which is kind of different from Google's. And it's really interesting to see this suite because Google is actually, let me see, we go here to the Facebook pixel, so you can also look at your sites that you have available. Facebook is actually different from Google because Facebook is not as privacy concerned maybe, but also is not as bound to the code that you install on the page itself. As you might remember, Google Analytics is very much connected to what you do with your cookies. So if you delete them, they're gone. And with Facebook, you actually, when somebody clicks on an ad, Facebook exactly knows who that person actually is. They have a lot of personal identifiable information, and they can correlate it. So it doesn't really matter if you click on an ad on your desktop or on mobile device. Facebook would be able to take this data and then say it's the same person, so we'll just count them as same. And therefore, you get a lot, and this is now Measure School, you get a lot of nice information about your users. So these are, I would say, more accurate than what you see from in Google's demographics analysis. So we have an age group, we have a gender, the country that visits our website the most, the channel, so mostly the web, apparently. And obviously demographics data, that's what Facebook is really good in. But you can also look into the interests. Let's see here. So we can look into the interests. Okay, that loads a bit. But that data is much more accurate. So when users come to our website and then our pixel gets files, Facebook can match that up to their database and say, okay, this user is exactly 19 years old or 20 years old, and I'll put it into the bracket. And then now make that data available to us so we can learn a lot of different demographical information here, even job titles. We can see what pages do my users of Measure School like the most on Facebook. So maybe it would be relevant to target people who like TED or Moz, right? And this is information that I have never seen in that capacity before. So it's highly interesting that Facebook makes it available to us. And I think that it will be great to go through that on your page and find out of your users. So for example, household income. And obviously, this is all data that you can also then use to target your users on Facebook as well. And so it makes it just easier. Facebook really went the same way as Google did. When AdWords first came out, they bought the company Urchin in order to build Google Analytics out of Urchin, just to give the user, the advertiser, actually more capabilities of analyzing and targeting deeper and understanding the users better on the website in order for them to spend more money. That's the That's the gist of it. So if I if I look at this data, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just very narrowly target people who have a bank card, or who have the, what is this? Summit estates, okay. Families are enjoying the good life, luxury, travel, entertainment, consumption of every kind. So they give you a lot of different information here, and this is just through the Facebook pixel again. So really great. They have some other functionalities within here. You can build funnels. I haven't done that yet. You can look at retention graphs. So depending on the data that you send in to Facebook via the Facebook pixel, you can build retention graphs. You have different cohorts. Let's see what's interesting. And you have something called the event debugging, which is very, very interesting, because it was always very hard to just work with this Facebook pixel helper to figure out, okay, now the data is sent, but how does it actually get into the account? Was it changed correctly? What data points have been sent and whatnot? So this is kind of complementary, like the Google Analytics, what's it called? Google Analytics real-time reporting, where you can actually see the data coming in. So if I go to Measure School right now, and I should see that there is somebody, let's refresh that just came in through Google. No, that's not me. That should be me here. So data is actually pretty accurate. So here we go. This is me, and we can then see where the user came from, for example, or what site he is on. So this then works real time, almost real time, and makes debugging so much easier. All right, so this is a short overview on what data you can see with the help of Facebook Analytics. And let's go back to the camera. It is one of the tools that I've really thought is really well thought out, and also gives us new capability, a new data set. And it is really interesting because it also deduplicates any kind of multiple users that come in. Something that technically Google could only do through the advertising network, but they had privacy issues in the past. So nobody really, or website owners don't want to really send any PII to Google Analytics, because they're actually prohibited by their terms of service. And Facebook is just looked at that data and said, we have that data here, and they don't actually send us any kind of personal identifiable information, but we can backtrack that in our system, in our database, and the users have already agreed to it. So we can give that data back to the advertisers, which is really, really interesting. All right, that's it with my video that I wanted to discuss today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any kind of questions about it right now. So let's go into the chat and see. Marina is online. How can we catch leads made by users from Facebook? On Facebook itself, the tracking is pretty straightforward, because Facebook gives you a lot of data within the interface itself. So you can look at your pages and see how people have interacted with the lead forms that are in there. And these are custom Facebook actions. It's not something that you need to install. You need to look into the interface and figure out how can I correlate that data correctly. It's not something that you can then backfeed into Google Analytics or so. This actually happens. If something happens on Facebook itself, it actually is viewable through Facebook Analytics. Okay, what's the benefit to adding this additional line of code to the base code, which allows for tag sequencing? Yes. So the code that I have deployed there, and you can read up about it on Yehoshua's blog, which is at analyticsninja.com, and he has a great blog post about Facebook and the Facebook pixel. And what it actually does, it makes sure that the code that we have on top, this huge or this big chunk of code, executes first before other codes fire. And that way you don't have to re-input that code all the time again and again. So if you think about it, this code basically initiates the whole tracking. So Facebook is then ready to receive data, and everything is set up from a technical perspective. And then you can send over track commands. So the first track command that you send over is the track pageview, which is always by default. Now the second track command that you might want to fire over later on, so for example, a button click, you need to be able to make sure that this base tracking code already has been deployed, so it's ready to receive that kind of track information. And that's why you want to make sure that this code has been already deployed and is ready to receive data. And this is what this line of JavaScript does. And then you can also utilize the tag sequencing feature within Google Tag Manager. So I hope that answered your question, Craig. Then we have another question from Kong Slaves 4. How can I tell if I have the latest version of the Facebook Pixel installed? Facebook Pixel is a bit longer. I guess I showed you inside of the, if I switch over again, if you look at this Facebook Pixel here, it has a version 2.0 inside of this base tracking code. So make sure that is in there. If not, I wouldn't program it in completely myself. I would just go into your Facebook settings and copy it and then put it over. So that is something that you might want to do. Okay, great. This has been it with our little hangout with some technical difficulties at the beginning, and our little live video today about the Facebook Pixel, the newest changes to what you can do with the Facebook Pixel. So it has been expanded a bit, but also the very interesting development of Facebook Analytics. So I hope you enjoyed this live session. If you have any more questions, or if you see this after the fact, then leave them in the comments below and we'll be sure to check them out. Now, if you like this video, then give us a thumbs up. And if you want to check out our other videos, then you will find one right up there later on. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing as well. My name is Julian. Till next time.